This is one of the most broken art types in this game's history. It's had so many bans and limitations, it's honestly hard to keep track of them all. Now, everything I just said can actually refer to two different art types in this game, both of which, thanks to a brand new supporting card, can be played in the same deck list. So here's today's deck list. Now just a reminder before I get into the deck list, if you guys are enjoying today's video and want to see more content just like this in the future, especially if you're a returning viewer, so apparently about 35% are watching this or even subscribed to the channel, meaning 65% of you haven't even subscribed yet. So you guys are enjoying this kind of content, want to see more deck lists from me in the future or more videos from me in the future, please remember to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel down below. Alright, let's jump into this deck list. Today's deck list is obviously going to be your Orcust combined with your Darklord. Now why exactly we decided to mesh these two archetypes together? Well, we've gotten ourselves a brand new supporting card, the Condemned Darklord. This thing takes two fairy type monsters. You can tribute summon fairy type monsters that require two tributes or banishing two monsters from your graveyard instead of tributing. This first effect doesn't really matter all that much, as you're probably going to be using your normal summon for other things in this deck list. You can discard one card to take one Darklord monster from your deck and either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard. This is this card's main effect, and we'll talk about it more in just a second. You can use this effect once per turn. Once per turn, during your end phase, gain 500 life points for each fairy type monster on the field. So like I said, the main effect of this card is the search from your deck and discard from your hand. Now obviously, Orcust love discarding, as if you ever open any of these three cards, which you should do about 50% of your time going first and 60% of the time going second, you can just discard them from your hand, and then on top of doing your full standard Darklord combo, you can now go for a full Orcust combo as well. Additionally, of course, your ixchel can be searched for via your Banishment of the Darklords, so if you ever open one of these and any of your Darklord monsters, you're going to be able to draw two cards, making it more of a 70% chance to have opened any of these three cards by now, leading to full Orcust combo, because of course you can just normal summon these cards as well, on top of the discarding off of your Condemned Darklord or discarding off of your Forbidden Droplet. There's so many different ways you can just put this thing into the graveyard, which leads to full combo, on top of doing your full Darklord stuff, leading to an absolutely disgusting deck. Now I'm not going to take up too much more of your time talking about the deck list, as obviously most of these cards you've probably all seen before by now, but there is one last thing to mention, and that is of course the inclusion of Trickstar Nightshade. This card is fantastic for particularly this deck list, because obviously this thing is a fairy monster, and this card can be summoned via fairy monsters. So this thing, when it is summoned, you can then send it to the graveyard for a link monster such as your Trickstar Bloom, and when it is sent to the graveyard for that link summon, it can revive itself back to the field. That's going to give you a Link Bloom on the field, and this dude on the field, that's two fairies, that goes into your Condemned Darklord, so you then search for whatever you need to depending on whatever's in your hand. And that's basically it for the deck list, so without further ado, let's jump into some gameplay showcasing what exactly this shit can do. Alright, so for those of you that are wondering about win rates and stuff with this deck, I think I went 13-3 with it if I remember correctly, which is a pretty decent showing considering most of the matchups I had today were fairly meta-relevant. There were a couple of memers because obviously we're inside King of Games where a lot of people like to just play whatever garbage they feel like, but for most of the time they were against some more meta-relevant sort of stuff, as you'll see from the gameplay, so I thought it was a pretty decent showing. I don't think this deck is going to be some sort of top tier meta contender or anything like that, but for how Darklords kind of were in their state they were in, it definitely feels a lot better than it did, so yeah, I do encourage you guys to give this shit a try, if you own the cards of course. Alright, let's get into it. So this is probably the only matchup that wasn't considered a meta-relevant one, considering it's Phantom Knight. It wasn't a 5-game win streak though. The other ones were all meta-relevant stuff, which you'll see in just a second. So, up against Phantom Knight. So he's going to be setting up his standard Phantom Knight field of your big Xyz Negati dude, and I think he sets up a couple of back row as well. And we have a pretty fantastic hand. Any hand where you open a copy of your horror is going to be a fairly decent hand, especially if you open ixchel as well, considering ixchel is the card you normally want to like search for. If they ever unlimit any of this stuff, holy, is this deck going to feel good. Especially if they unlimit the field spell, like the Orcust field spell, or they unlimit the ixchel, because the reason this deck has a little bit of conflict is those two cards are both limited, so you can't play the field spell and ixchel, meaning this deck can't play the field spell, which does feel kind of bad, but at the same time, it's fine. This deck can set up its own interruption without the Orcust stuff. The Orcust stuff's more for being able to break through boards most of the time. or just setting up just your big dude on the field to stop your stuff being destroyed. Also fairly good. Alright, send up his field and pass on the turn. So first we do ixchel, drawing some cards. He tries to negate, but we drew a Droplet, so get shit on. Droplet feels so goddamn good in a deck that can draw so many cards, because you just draw into this card fairly often. Alright, so activating my spell card, reviving my Superbia, which then gets a revive as well. Alright, Banishment, searching for the trap card for later on. Using my card effect on field to copy in graveyard for a search. Activating the Orcust Harp to summon the dude to the field, going into the link. Knightmare, sending a Harp to the graveyard. Alright, sorry, a Cymbal to the graveyard. Alright, shuffling back in for a return. I can now use the return to draw 2 cards based on the cards in hand. Woirld, reviving back to the field. So I'm going to a link 3 for a Knightmare Unicorn. Bumped off one of the back row. Cymbal Skeleton reviving, so of course I can go into your link monster, or your Exceed monster. Bringing out Dingirsu, non-target removal, forcing out the back row early. Which is fine, because we know how to remove this thing. And yeah, he's just going to be dead on field. And we still had Droplet in hand and the back row ready to go for the following turn, if he did manage to survive. Alright, next up. Alright, now these ones are all meta-relevant stuff. So I think this guy was... I know there was a Conella, there was a Mayakashi, there was a Teny. I forgot who the other guy was, because 4 more replays. This is the Mayakashi. So Mayakashi is an interesting matchup because we have the skill No Mortal Can Resist, considering our cards all manage to just suck our own life points by like minus 1,000 each time. So if you take 2,000 life points off yourself, you can just delete your opponent's graveyard, which is the whole reason we're using the skill. So in this matchup, you just want to take 2,000 points of damage and delete their graveyard. Alright, because even if they do manage to do some disruption during this turn, in future turns, if they've got nothing left in the graveyard, which a lot of the time they don't, considering most Mayakashi players like to dump their entire extra deck on turn 1, including like all their link monsters. And if all of them get hit by No Mortal Can Resist, yeah, they're gonna struggle on future turns, even if they do manage to survive. Although I think this guy played really weirdly. Like, for some reason he summoned this thing back on turn 1, which was sus. I don't know why you wouldn't summon back maybe to level 11. It looked kind of weird to me, but anyway. Alright, then he passed it over. So first thing we're using is our Banishment, grabbing our Superbia. ixchel discarding for a couple of draws. Going to reviving. Reviving again. Normal summoning, going into our Bloom. Nightshade. Summoning, of course. The Condemned Darklord. He's now going to activate this to revive backwards. It's going to get a negate on to negate this thing's effects, which is kind of annoying, but thankfully this thing sends for cost, not for its effects, so I can just discard for cost. Still putting the Orcust in grave. Orcust effect, summoning to field. He's going to let me go into my Link summon before activating his graveyard effect. I think he has the trap card as well. I know he's going to let me keep going, so Orcust Return can be drawing even more cards. Certainly for a Nasten, I now have a bunch of Darklord cards to summon this thing to the field. And like I said, the whole goal is just pay 1,000 life points and unblow the 2,000. So I activate my skill, my opponent's graveyard just disappeared. They've all been turned into nice looking little zombie monsters. Oh my god, that is a lot of zombie monsters. Alright, shuffling that back into the deck, Cymbal Skeleton reviving. Of course, Dingirsu. Moving the monster from the field, and now he is just very, 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 very dead. Yeah, I don't know why you would ever turn one summon back to level 9, that sounds hella troll. I don't know what this guy was doing. Either way, I don't think he was expecting the No Mortal Can Resist anyway, so he kinda got shit on. He was definitely not expecting the No Mortal Can Resist. He'll probably play around that in the future now. Alright, on to replay number 3. Alright, this guy was the... Is he a Teny player?
Duel.
Alright. So going first this time. Normal summoning. Oh, this is the Live Twin player actually. So Nightshade reviving back, going for a copy of a Condemned Darklord, and when we use this effect, our opponent unfortunately has an effect failure, so still haven't got to see this card's effect go off yet. Actually, you might have seen it in the first replay, I've kind of forgotten already. Alright, Harp going to be summoning out from deck, these two become your Automaton. Send to graveyard, revive. No, sorry, so send to graveyard, search for the Orcust Return. Let's see what we can hit off of this. Draw a couple more cards, hit a Banishment and an ixchel, which is fantastic, searching for a contact. ixchel drawing some more cards, holy the card draw. Reviving, search, grabbing our trap card for some negation. And now we can do a little bit of Orcust stuff as well, because why not. Ending on a Dingirsu. With a Harp below it, ready for the following turn. Alright, live twin effect, of course we're going to negate that. A bit scary because he has a normal summon here, he can continue extending. We do have a second negate though, so not the worst. Banishment searching. Gonna go for a link sign for a second Automaton. He's gonna Ice Dragon's Prison me, which is nasty actually. Reviving for swinging into both these monsters and him in the base. Alright, summons a Leela, of course we're going to be negating that. Ice Dragon's Prison again, very nasty once again, but still okay, not the worst. Because he needs to actually keep that monster on the field in order to go for his Link summon, so didn't get to banish any of my stuff. Instead going to go for his Ixchel, obviously reviving from graveyard, popping a card on the field. Getting some life points, and before he ends his turn, as he finished doing all his Link summoning stuff, yeah, before he ends his turn, we're going to revive, once again, a Darklord back from the graveyard, so we've got 3 monsters on the field. No more can resist. Another great use of this skill versus specifically our Live Twin. All those annoying monsters that you could revive back from the graveyard are now just nice looking Skull Servants. Much better. And he's dead. Not that we even needed the skill here, I think we're going to be fine without it, but nice to seal the deal. Alright, here we got next. We've got 2 more replays. So it's Conella and Teny left. Well, the Teny player didn't really set up that good of an infield, to be fair. Oh, Teny players typically don't often set up insane infields. They can go ham sometimes and get their Synchro monster on field as well and a full graveyard, but those hands aren't exactly the super common. No, he summons his Monk, gonna be summoning from deck, grabbing a, whatever the hell, how do you pronounce this thing, Shathana? Making his Berserker, gaining some life points, and I think that was it. So not the greatest infield for a Teny player, but it doesn't really matter because he decided to gain life points. He's got 2,000 more than me, I could activate my skill, so even if he had the most insane Teny infield with all the annoying cards in graveyard, all the non-target things, the can't battle me things, they've all been turned into Skull Servants now. So keep that in mind if you're a Teny player and you see an Shizu. Don't activate your skill unless you wanted to have everything in your graveyard turn into little zombies. Because now he's got literally nothing. He's absolutely nothing. I think even if he had a Berserker on the field, it would have been fine. I could just dropletted it. So I did all this without dropletting. So something like Condemned Darklord, discarding. Once again, we had a Harp Horror in hand. Draw 2 cards. Searching for a Darklord contact. Superbia reviving once again. Harp Horror summoning from deck. These 2 become your Automaton. Shuffling back in, grabbing my return. Special summoning, gaining some attack. Sending to the graveyard to draw some more cards. Holy shit, my hand is literally bigger than it started. Well, the same as when it started. And we've got a full field of shit. Searching for the trap card as well. Now it's actually much bigger than it started. 3 lots of back row passing the turn. Only one of these is activatable though, and he's already dead. Because that guy could have set up the full Teny infield, unless he had like full Teny infield and like an IDP or something, he wouldn't have won that game. He needed a very insane hand to stop that. Alright. final replay. And this one was against a Conella who actually did open everything. So, well, nearly everything. I think he only did one XC summon, but he opened 3 lots of disruptions. So we had to play through three disruptions. Was it 4 actually? Might have been 4 disruptions actually. No, don't quite remember. We'll see. Alright, so Concella's doing dirty Conella things. Look at this hand, by the way. It's literally draw 2. This is going to be a draw 2, and this is going to be a draw 2. So it's literally a draw 4 hand. Recycle my entire hand and stack my graveyard. The chance of hitting an Orcust card here is really fucking high. We are going to hit an Orcust card. Alright, so he's doing his standard Constellary things. Gonna be drawing an extra card. Making a nearly optimal Conella field. Sometimes they can get the other level 4 on the field as well for an extra exceed, but this is basically a optimal Conella field in most scenarios. Alright, drawing 2. Drawing 2 again. He's going to DD Crow my Harp, so that's his first lot of disruption. We've hit a Droplet though, so we can now remove his second lot of disruption. Alright, Condemned Darklord, searching for contact. Contact going to be reviving. Reviving again. Knightmare going to be summoning to the field. Oh, sorry, sending to the graveyard to then summon to the field. He then book and moves me for a third disruption. Activate my effect in graveyard to search for a card. He activates his 4th disruption. But he's forgotten we actually haven't used our normal summon yet, so we just tribute summon a Darklord. Woirld 1 could revive one of the dudes back from graveyard, and that was literally lethal on field, because we could go into the Link monster, Dingirsu, he was dead, so... Yeah, and I think that was the last replay. I think so. Yeah, it was. Alright guys, that's going to do it for today's replays. Hope you guys enjoyed them. If you did, leave a like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Hope to see you in the next one. Laters.
Hey, big brother, can I watch SpongeBob?
Shut up, Mokuba. I'm busy flagging YouTube videos to compensate for the fact that I have an extremely small penis.
Oh.